Alrighty. Hi everybody. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day. Well, Christmas is almost here, and I kind of want to talk about something cheerful today, and I want to reminisce. If those of you that are in your 60s, I'm 68, if you're in your 60s and older, I'm sure you'll have some of these memories as well. So I want to talk about some of those happy childhood memories, just things from the past. Christmas is almost here, and I kind of don't want to talk about all the hardships and gloomy stuff of life. Maybe after Christmas we can get to that. But right now I'm feeling more like I want to talk about, I don't know, more cheerful things, or at least not as gloomy as they could be. So anyway, let's get to it. I wanted to talk about, as a little girl, how many of you remember, I even wrote it down so I won't forget, but how many of you remember Thumbelina? Did you guys have a Thumbelina baby doll? I did, and I got to tell you, I look at it now and I think to myself, I was in love with my Thumbelina. Oh my gosh, guys, my Thumbelina was my everything. I just loved my baby doll, Thumbelina. And if you remember her, she would turn her head. She'd go like that, back and forth. She'd move. There was a little key on the back. And she'd move her head back and forth, and she'd cry like a baby. Do you guys remember that? Oh, I loved my Thumbelina. She was everything to me when I was a real little girl. Well, I looked up Thumbelina yesterday. Oh my God. If I saw that doll in the store now, I would not be buying it for my granddaughter. Ooh, what a spooky looking baby. I mean, yeah, I would not get that for my granddaughter now. That was an ugly looking baby. It really was. But to me at the time, she was all that, just everything. Now let me say real quick, guys, if you keep hearing me clear my throat as I record this, I'm sorry, but I have to. They're doing so much construction in the back, dust and dirt in the air forever, and I know it's affecting me. They're disturbing dirt that has not been touched in literally decades and decades and decades, where they're building this little building. So sorry if I have to keep clearing my throat. Anyway, so there was the Thumbelina that meant the world to me, right? I wonder how many of you had one of those. Next one was Tammy doll. Do you guys remember the Tammy doll with her bleach blonde platinum hair? I loved, loved, loved my Tammy doll. And I remember when I first got her, I was upset because I wanted Barbie, but for Christmas I got a Tammy doll. And at first I was upset, but then I came to love my Tammy doll. She was just everything to me. Do you guys remember her? If you don't, look her up and it might ring a bell. Tammy was all that, boy. I mean, she was cool. She was like the surfer doll, just she had that surfer look about her. She was so cool. I loved her. The other one is, do you guys remember creepy crawlers? Oh my gosh. That was something back in my day. Like I say, I'm in my 60s. Back in my day when I was young, that was something mainly that boys had. The creepy crawler sets, where you make the bugs, and you would pour that gel into the mold, and then you bake it in the little oven that it came with. And then when it was done, you had these, they were soft, floppy bugs, all kinds of bugs, spiders and ants and scorpions and caterpillars or whatever, all kinds of centipedes. You could make all kinds of bugs. Oh my God, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I did not get that one as a gift ever. And I'm glad, because I actually looked it up today, because I thought, I wonder if they're still in existence. Well, I'm glad I didn't get one, because it turns out they stopped producing them because the gel that you poured into the mold to bake turned out to be highly toxic, totally toxic. as it would bake, the fumes that came from it were extremely toxic. So they stopped making it. Well, now they have creepy crawler sets, but they're made when the kids make them, they're made with clay, like a clay plaster type of thing. So it's a hard white bug, and then they give you paints to paint them. That's not the same. Because back in my day when you made creepy crawlers, they were soft and flexible, you know, kind of like rubbery. And then you could pour all kinds of different colors of gel in the mold, so you'd have this multicolored bug. I used to love that. I thought that was the coolest thing. So when I was looking at it, I thought, man, that's not the same. Now they even have, which the kids might still enjoy it, but now they give you glow-in-the-dark paint too to paint the bugs with, so they glow at night. But not the same as those flexible, rubbery type of bugs that were so cool, kind of transparent because of the gel that you used. Turns out it was toxic, guys. What is it? And let's see, what do I have next? Oh, how many of you remember playing jump rope? Oh my gosh. Just reminiscing about this stuff. Jump rope. I mean, that was the end all. When I was a little girl, you had to be the best jump roper. Oh my gosh. We were out there every day, jump roping, right? And especially when there would be the double jump, the double rope, that was, man, you were skilled if you could do that. I couldn't do that one very often, but I tried. But yeah, remember the jump roping. Oh my gosh, every little girl had their jump rope, and we'd be out on the driveway and singing all the songs. I can't remember any of the songs that we used to sing, but we were singing all these jump rope songs. And that was so much fun. I mean, we got our exercise when we were young. Not like the kids today sitting, you know, glued in front of a video game and doing nothing but that. We were out the door. I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, we got up, Mom was making, you know, homemade from scratch breakfast, and then we'd eat, we'd do our chores, whatever chores they had for us, and then it was go play. That's it, go play. We were gone. They didn't know where we were. I mean, we'd say, we're going to so-and-so's house, but we took off. Because back then it was safe. You could just take off and go play and be gone for hours. We just knew we had to be back by lunchtime. We'd come home, we'd eat, same thing. My mom, go play, go play. And we'd be out the door. I'd be out that door playing with my friends. Gone to wherever, doing whatever. And we knew to be back by dinner. Same thing. Every day. Be back by dinner. And we'd be back by dinner. Eat dinner. Same thing. Go play. Unless it was winter and it was dark, then no. Because then by the time my dad got home from work, it was dark. So no, then we didn't go out to play. But when we were done, it was, you know, we'd go in, we'd color, we'd do what, we were doing something, playing with something, using our imaginations. We weren't just like this all day. So yeah, I don't know if you guys, if that was your life, but that was mine. We were constantly active, constantly active. I was a tomboy. I was a tomboy. Me and climbing the trees, you know, climbing the walls and walking on them, you know. And back then, neighbors weren't complaining about, oh, you know what, your child is walking on my wall and that's invading my privacy. I don't ever want to see that again. No, we walked the walls, and there would be an alley. There was an alley between the homes, and we'd all be running through that alley, going to each other's houses, what have you, just having a ball, just living our life and having fun out there, figuring out what to do, that type of thing, right? And there's another thing that I used to do when I was a little girl with my little girlfriends. We used to make mud pies. Do you guys remember making mud pies? We would get out there, and it was great because our parents, you know, my parents let us, and their parents. We'd make mud. We'd go out, wet the dirt, make some mud, and we'd have different containers. My mom would give us like old cups or old bowls or whatever, you know, containers, whatever. We'd fill it up, pack it tight, flip it over, and there was the form of whatever that container was. And we'd make all kinds of designs with mud. Yep, good old mud. We played in the mud. Somehow I'm here, you know, all that bacteria and germs in the dirt. Yeah, nowadays, oh my God, there's some dirt on your hands, let's pour alcohol over it, you know. We played in the dirt and made mud pies. And when my dad would be out working in the yard, in the garden, he'd be out there working in the garden and he was thirsty, he'd just pull that hose right up and drink out of the hose. So did I. I'd be like, oh, I'm thirsty, Dad. He'd be here. And I'd go over drinking the water out of the hose, you know. Somehow I'm still here at 68. But that's how it was back then, guys. I'm sure a lot of you have these memories. And it was a much freer and much a time when you really had to use your imagination and think of what to do for the day as a child. You weren't completely consumed and occupied by video games or the TV. That's not the way it was. And speaking of that, how many of you remember getting your first color TV? I do. I remember it was a Zenith. My parents got their first color TV. It was so exciting. Oh my gosh, I will never forget looking at that color TV, because before that we had, I'm sure a lot of you will remember this, it was the little black and white kind of like that shape in a big cabinet, and you would close the doors. It was tucked back in there and it wasn't big, it was just a, you know, whatever size TV, and it was black and white. Well, when we got that Zenith color TV, oh my God, you talk about the most amazing thing in the world. It was like, whoa, it's color. It was so exciting. I remember that. It was a square, dark brown wood, just a square, not those big cabinets that became popular in the 80s, but it was just a square, dark wood TV with the little straight legs. And there was the color TV. Oh my gosh. Talk about excitement. And then, okay, here's another one. Hopscotch. How many of you remember becoming a pro at hopscotch? Oh yeah. Yeah, you had to be a pro at hopscotch, man. Get out there making all those designs and putting the numbers in. And you had to be the pro to jump and play hopscotch. My little friends and we'd be out there just, and we all had songs. I can't remember any of the songs we would sing when we were jump roping and playing hopscotch. But yeah, you had to be a pro at hopscotch. It was fun, and if you got through that whole thing perfectly, like we'd make some that were shorter, just maybe 5 numbers, 5 boxes, and then we'd make really long ones. And man, if you could get through that whole thing, you were just it, man. You were it. And I remember that. I remember my mom telling me, go outside, play hopscotch, go jump rope, whatever. Moms back then, it was like, for us, and where I grew up, it was just go play. They didn't sit and worry that we were going to disappear if we walked out the front door. And it would just be go play. Go play hopscotch, go jump rope. I don't know, go to your friend's house, you know, because I had a stay-at-home mom. And, you know, back then, a lot of moms were stay-at-home moms, so they were busy in the house. You know, my mom kept a spotless home and was always cooking, you know, always making something. So it was go play, and we did, and we loved it. And let's see, what's another one? Simon Says. How many of you remember playing Simon Says? Oh my gosh, that was another one. Oh my gosh. I remember, I can still see my friends were all lined up and, you know, Simon says, touch your head, or Simon says whatever. And if you got through the whole thing, man, you were smart. You were really smart. You were a smart kid. But oh, how I loved Simon Says. That was it for me. And let's see. Oh, hide and seek. Yes, who didn't play hide and seek outside? We would find the craziest places to hide. I mean, and I think about it now. I remember when I was living in Santa Fe. I was, 6th grade, and I was playing with some friends, and we were playing hide and seek. We would hide in the arroyos. Yeah, guys. there was an arroyo near the home we lived at, and we'd go hide in the arroyo, and the arroyo was filled with trees and bushes and weeds and stuff that just grew up in there, and we would go hide in there. Can you imagine? Nowadays, if you found out your child was hiding in an arroyo, not good, not good, much less away from home. Who knows what could happen? But it didn't back then. It just didn't. And so we'd hide in the craziest places. Sometimes we'd go in other people's yards. We'd go in other people's yards and hide behind their bushes or whatever. Nobody was calling the police. Nobody was going to the parents, your kid was in my yard. You know, no, none of that stuff going on. I guess it was just, oh, the kids are playing. Like I remember that happening at our home when I was real young. And my mom or my dad would look out and they'd see the kids running in the yards, and I'm like, oh, the kids are playing. And that was that. You know, it was like, whatever. Can't do that nowadays, boy. They'll have the police on you in a heartbeat. It's just the way the times are now. But yeah, hide and seek was one that we used to love. And let's see, do you remember Red Rover? Red Rover, Red Rover, where you would line people up. There were two opposing teams, but you all had to hold hands. And you would say, like, Red Rover, send Johnny over. And Johnny had to break through the clasped hands of the opposing team. If he didn't break through the hands, then he had to join that opposing team. If he did break the clasped hands, then he got to take one of the opposing teams back to his team. We used to love to play Red Rover, Red Rover. I remember playing that at school. Oh gosh, we loved playing that. It was so much fun. And then, what was the other one? Oh, I can't remember. Oh, I'm not going to waste my time. And then the monkey bars. Remember playing on monkey bars? I mean, really going crazy on those monkey bars and swings. I remember this. Even back when I was going to a Catholic school, us girls would go out there and we'd be playing on the monkey bars and the swings. Like, we would swing like maniacs, guys. I mean, the swings were everything back there. It's like, yeah, I get the swing, I get the swing. We would argue for that swing because it was so much fun. We'd go as high as we could. We'd be pushed. I mean, we were constantly active. Oh, constantly active growing up, and even into my teen years. We walked everywhere. I didn't have a car till I got my license at 16, but I didn't have my own car. I would, you know, if my parents let me use their car here and there. But even up into my teens, I mean, we walked everywhere. I walked to my friend's house, they walked to mine, until the cars came into picture. Then I didn't like the walking, so if I could, I'd use the car to go to my friends. But before that, we walked everywhere. We'd catch the bus to go every place. It's like, you want to go to the mall? We'd go catch the bus. Sometimes we even actually walked to the mall from where I lived, and it wasn't that close. But we would walk. We were constantly active, guys, constantly doing something. And I think back to those times and I think, man, I look at my grandkids and I think they don't have a clue what they're really missing. They really don't. The freedom we had, I think back to the freedom we had, oh my gosh. I remember at night, this is another thing, do you guys remember this? When night time came, if all the kids weren't back in their homes, in our neighborhood, I always remember one of them in particular, Jimmy, come home! Jimmy, where are you? Donnie, come home! The mothers would be out there yelling for their kids to come home. Did you guys experience that? Do you remember any of that? Oh, I do. I remember hearing those moms yelling for their kids to come home. That was just the way it was. It was a very different time, and also another thing I remember is other people could get after your children. Even strangers could get after your children if you were doing something wrong. If you did something wrong, that neighbor or the whatever in the store, they would speak up. Don't you do that. Don't you ever do that again, young man, young lady. They could get after other people's children, and that was that. No, I don't mean hitting them or anything, but you know, that don't you do that, young man. Don't you, young lady, don't you talk like that. They used to do that. That's the way it was. Of course, you do that now, you're going to get sued and be who knows what, a child abuser or whatever. Now, you can't do that. But back then, do you guys remember that? I do. I remember being at a neighbor's home, and you know, maybe I was not saying there was. I might not have been behaving, and it'd be like, "Lori, don't you do that again? Don't you ever talk like that again?" Or, "Lori, stop that." Neighbors got after each other's kids, and I remember my mom too. She'd get after. I remember the one neighbor, Donnie. Oh, he was a jerk, but I played with him anyway. But my mom, she'd get after him. "Donnie, don't you do that? You stop that now." And then she'd tell his mother, and his mother would be like, "I'm so sorry, you know, I'll get after him, I'll talk to him, whatever." That's the way it was, back and forth, guys. It's very different now. You can't do that. And and there's another game. I don't know if you guys remember this one. I do. It was Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Well, back then, which, you know, the racist stuff was alive and well as it is now, but more accepted back then. It was Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, catching N by the toe. You know what I mean by the N word. I was a little girl. I was raised in a household with no racism or bigotry. That didn't exist. Well, I come home one time with my friends, learning this new game, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, and we would sing it, right? Catching N by the toe. Oh my God. I will never forget the day that happened in the backyard and my mom heard it. I'm using this even as a demonstration. I'm Spanish, guys. So all of you with Latin mothers, if you remember back then in the 50s, 60s, well, I'm sure it exists now too from what I've seen on YouTube. Even those Latin mamas. Oh my gosh, she heard me say that, singing that. I mean, just singing it out loud with my friends. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catching by the toe. She comes out like this. She comes out, "What did I hear you say?" And I'm looking at her like, "What?" She goes, "What did you kids say?" And I was like, "What are you talking about, Mom?" And she comes out with her spoon. She was cooking. And she comes out, she's like, "I ever hear you say that word again, I will spank you and put you in your room. Do you hear me? You'll get this. You'll get this." And then after saying what she had to in English, she's yelling in Spanish. I didn't know what she was saying. I never learned Spanish, unfortunately. But she's out there yelling in Spanish, shaking her spoon at me. "Don't you ever say that word again. Never, never ever say that word again." I was shocked. I thought, what did I do wrong? I'm just playing with my friends. Well, after everything calmed down, she explained to me why that word was bad. I was like, oh, I was a little girl. I think I was in, what, 3rd, 4th grade. I didn't know what the N word was then and what it meant and all that. Man, she ripped into me. I'll never forget. I can still see her face. "Oh, what's wrong with you? Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from?" You know, and they're shaking her spoon. She was so mad because that was not acceptable in our home. And, you know, it just takes me back to the way things were back then. And real quick, another one. We were going to a store. It's called Piggly Wiggly. Do you remember Piggly Wiggly? We went to Piggly Wiggly. We were walking up. My mom had my hand in her hand. We're walking into Piggly Wiggly back in the day when most moms were home and everybody was going, all the women going to Piggly Wiggly. Well, as we're walking up to the door, there comes this black man. Now, you got to understand, in my neighborhood, you didn't see black people. You did not see them. That's just the way it was. It was rare. Well, we're walking into Piggly Wiggly, and this man walks out, and he was what I would call almost like a blue-black, I mean, we're literally like blue-black skin coloring. Well, I was in awe. I was like, you know, I was little. I'm looking up at him like, oh my gosh. You know, I'd never seen a black person before, so I was in awe. I literally was, guys. And my mom saw me staring at him, and oh, she got mad. She pulls me aside. She goes, "Don't you ever stare at people like that. That's terrible. You don't do that. You don't stare at anybody like that." And she scolded me. Well, there were other women that were walking that saw what happened. They went where my mom was, and they pointed their fingers. "Young lady, you listen to your mother. Don't you ever do that again. Never stare at people like that again." There was 4 of them. I'll never forget them standing with my mother, and they were, "Don't you ever do that again, young lady. That is not nice to stare at anybody. I don't care who it is. Nobody. You don't do that. Do you hear? You listen to your mom." And my mom looked at them and she was like, "Thank you." She goes, "That's right. That's right." So my mom with these strangers gathered up together to scold me to not do that. Well, I didn't know I was doing wrong. To me, it was just something I'd never seen before. I was like, oh my gosh, I was fascinated to see this man with this blue-black skin. I mean, it was literally, the sun made it look almost like blue, like a dark bluish black. And to me, it was all new. I was like, oh my God. Well, man, they came down on me, and these total strangers let me know, you don't stare. And of course, when we get home, my mom explains, you don't stare at people like that. You just don't do it. That's when everybody kind of was the community, gathered together to make sure the kids did right. Now, oh my gosh, if that happened at the store, they'd have the police on you in a heartbeat. But that, I believe, is part of why so many kids, nowadays they don't have that, I don't know, what do you want to call it, a sense of community or a sense of, how they say it takes a village to raise, right? Well, that's how it was back then. There was a lot of freedom. There was also people being able to help keep other people's kids in line. That's just the way it was, guys. It was one of those things, and those memories, to me, they're good memories. And I remember when my sister, one of my sisters got an Easy Bake Oven. Do you remember the Easy Bake Ovens? I think they still have them. I'm not sure. But oh my God, to get an Easy Bake Oven, oh, what fun was that? I mean, that was fun to make your little cakes in there with that light. Oh, I just remember doing that. Oh, how I remember being little. 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, making those cakes in the Easy Bake Oven. That was so much fun, guys. We had to use our imagination to do whatever. But I just wanted to reminisce with some of the fun things from childhood because they truly were fun. Have a good one, guys, and I hope you have a great day. I really do. Let's think about the better, happier things. Take care. Have a good one.